What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Teflon, and I'm back at you another one, and this one is the visions of Game of Thrones broke down to prove that the Ice Dragon is coming. Now, I've talked about this before, but I've never made a video on it. It was brought to my attention again by my subscriber GMud00. So in this video, I hope to explain why I've always believed that there would be an Ice Dragon way before these plot leaks had came out, and somewhat confirmed that there will be by using the two visions from Bran and Daenerys. So the first thing we're going to look at is Daenerys. Now we see that when she's in the House of the Undying, this is when she gets her visions for the show purposes. Alright, and the first thing that we see when she's in her visions and when she comes out is the throne room. And the throne room covered completely in snow. So we must assume by this that at some point King's Landing was devastated. King's Landing is burnt down. We see the holes in the roof, and we see that the fires that are usually on the pillars are all out. There is no fires, there is no flames, so there is no life from what we can see. Now immediately after this, when you see her in this, she's walking with her flame. Remember, it's a single flame, and she puts her flame on the floor in the ice. Now remember what fire represents in this story, people. Fire represents life. So this is showing that she must lay down her own life in order to defeat the snow. She must sacrifice herself. That is what this scene shows. Now the next immediate shot right after that is her looking up at the ceiling in King's Landing. Why is she looking up into the sky? Why is she looking up there? And when she does look up there, what does she see? She sees that the ceiling has been ripped off. Nothing but devastation. Nothing but that. Now the next scene we see from her after looking up at the ceiling is her walking towards the Iron Throne. The thing that you have to remember here is that that fire represents her life, and it is far away from the Iron Throne. And she has laid down her flame, laid down her life for the Iron Throne. Now the next time we see her, she is walking towards the Iron Throne. The thing to note here is that it starts to snow as she approaches the Iron Throne. It wasn't snowing in all the other shots she was at before. It was already snow on the floor, but it wasn't physically snowing. But now as she approaches the Iron Throne, snowflakes start to fall on top of her. If they would be there before, she wouldn't have been able to look up so freely. Now as she gazes on the Iron Throne, something that she never makes contact with, she reaches for a sword that is right at the bottom of the throne, and this sword right here is Longclaw, covered in snow. So we can see that this represents Jon Snow being the rightful person who has to sit the throne as a Targaryen by right. Not as rightful that he deserves the throne, but for her bloodline, he is the next one who should be seated on the Iron Throne, and that he is the one who has to kill her. She must sacrifice her own flame to save the realm. That is her purpose. Her lifeblood is what is going to save the realm. And she's called away from the throne by the sound of her babies, her dragons. And that's what makes her turn her back on the throne. But the fact that it's dragons that we hear here is what's significant. Now as she willingly walks away from the Iron Throne, where does she find herself at? She finds herself at the wall, which further cements the point of Jon Snow being the true person that is supposed to sit the throne, saying that the person who sits the throne is at the wall. And what else does she find when she's out there? But she finds her two dead family members, Khal Drogo and her baby Rhaegal. And what this is saying is that for your sacrifice, for giving up your own life, you will be reunited with the two loves of your life. You will be reunited with your true husband and your son once you are dead. Now what's happening here is that the warlocks, the same as Bloodraven has done to Bran, is tempting Daenerys to stay in the dream world forever, because we hear what Bloodraven tells Bran, that if you can stay here, something bad can happen. So she is being tempted to stay in this dream, in this fake reality, as she would see it with her and her husband, instead of coming out into the real world. But it's the sound of her dragons that break that and make her go back to the real world. Now earlier I have said before, we see Dany looking up at the ruined ceiling, and usually when she looks up and sees anything up there, it's a great feeling because she's flying her dragons. But the reason why she's looking up here is because it's her dragons that have caused this devastation, or at least one of her dragons that has caused this devastation in King's Landing. In order for me to prove that, I have to go into the visions of Bran Stark to exactly explain it. So, when you see Bran touch the weirwood tree, I don't think this is for the first time, we see a couple of visions. And the first vision that we see is the crypts of Winterfell that's meaningful. Now, both Bran's vision and Daenerys' visions both surround one person, and that's Jon Snow. And this is what this is telling you. It's telling you that Jon's mother is buried there. This is the person who is to defeat the White Walkers, and this is the reason why, because Rhaegar is his father. That is why the next set of visions focus around Ned Stark, because Ned Stark is the only one who knew this. And what did we see before? The crypts of Winterfell, saying that Ned Stark took this secret to his grave with him. That is why Bran has to discover this fact out, because Ned died without telling anybody this secret. The next set of visions we see is of Blood Raven. We see the tree, we see the ravens, and then we see the tree frozen over. And this is foreshadowing the Night King coming there and killing Blood Raven and killing all of what's left of the last Greenseer, saying that Bran needs to become the next Greenseer because he's going to be killed by the Night's King. Next, we see the Night King's horse, and after we see the horse, we see the exact same thing that Daenerys seen, the Iron Throne covered in ice and snow with no ceiling. And as I told you before, that's the reason why Daenerys is staring up, because it's devastated, because we know that it's her dragons caused all this devastation by her bringing her dragons to Westeros. And that is why we see the final vision of the flying dragon over King's Landing before it is destroyed, because that is the Night's King on the ice dragon, and he is going to assault King's Landing. That's how he gets there so fast from the north, and that is why she is looking up, because it's her dragons that she brought to Westeros, that she thought she was bringing to save Westeros, that's actually going to be the downfall of Westeros. And if you want reason why Daenerys has to be sacrificed and why she must give her life for this, it's because Jon must forge Lightbringer. And if you want to know what Lightbringer is and you don't read the books, then look at my video, Daenerys' Death, the death of Daenerys Stormborn. Make sure that bell is hit so that every time I upload a video, you are notified that that video is uploaded. I've been hearing from a lot of people that they haven't heard a video from me for a long time, and it's due to that fact, that glitch in YouTube. So if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, please spread this across the realm, and please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace! And stay sexy.